today. We're going to start with Roger from Sky Sports News. Thank you.
Hello, hi Roy, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear, Roger. Yep, no problem.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Just grab my notes. Yes, sorry, Roy, you just caught me on the hop there. But, okay, can I have permission to record, please?
Yeah, I'll do that.
Thanks.
Okay, that's done.
Thank you. Okay, Roy. Sorry to keep you waiting. Just first of all, just a big topic that we're talking to everyone about at the moment. The decision by some clubs, Swansea, Birmingham Rangers, to come off social media. Is that a good move, do you think? Do you think this is the way that people are going to persuade the big companies, Twitter, Facebook, etc., to actually start taking sterner action?
Yes, I'm not an expert on the subject. I'm afraid I've made that clear on several occasions, but I can't see that it can do any harm in that respect. And we do, I think all of us want to see a more controlled environment from these big companies, because some of the things that are happening on social media and the abuse players are suffering, I think that's totally out of order in every respect. So if this is going to make them sit up and take some notice, and controls will be stronger, and social media will perhaps be able to prevent some of the worst excesses that we're seeing at the moment, I can only see that as a good thing.
We've seen a few clubs take that course of action, and Thierry Henry is perhaps the most famous footballer who's taken that course of action. But do you think that it's perhaps going to take everyone, big organisations, companies and so on, to do it, for it to really take effect, where the odd club here or there may not have the strength to have the effect on the social media platforms?
Well, what happened so far, it's raising awareness of the problem, which can only be a good thing, in my opinion. What it would take to really bring about the fundamental change, which is perhaps necessary, I'm not in a great position to answer that one. But I'm pleased to see that there is a move afoot, at least, to try and make the companies a little bit more responsible for what's going out on their various platforms, and of course to most of all try and get rid of the situation where people can hide behind fictitious accounts, so then they can never be held accountable themselves, because no one knows who the person is who's actually sort of putting out the vile messages.
I know you say you're not an expert on this area, but would you back Crystal Palace if they took that decision to come off social media completely? Is that something you would advocate?
I would certainly back any decision of that type that the club makes, but at the same time, I'm not aware at the moment that I'm being asked to back any decision there. But going forward, I'm pretty certain that our club will be monitoring the situation, as are probably all the clubs in the Football League, let alone the Premier League, and who knows what thoughts they will come up with. But I'm pretty sure I'll be happy to really back any ideas that they have, but at this moment in time, I can't tell you where we actually stand on that subject.
Let's talk about the football. Coming towards the tail end of the season now, and you see Crystal Palace not in any threat of relegation. European place seems unlikely. How do you go about keeping everyone motivated? Because you'll want to finish as high as possible, but when there's not something tangible to grab hold of and say we're aiming for that or we're aiming to avoid that, how do you go about keeping the players motivated?
I think a lot of that motivation is going to come from the players themselves. I mean, each Premier League game is an occasion by itself. It's watched by tens of millions of people all around the world, and there's a lot of people, if you like, taking a big interest in how you play and what result you're able to get. So for me, I don't think the players should need extra motivation to try and go into these last 8 games trying to get as many points as they're capable of getting, to try and finish as high as possible in the table as they can. So, and I'm fortunate here. I have a very good group of players, experienced group of players, but also a very serious group of players. And I would be very surprised if I was to witness any fading, if you like, of motivation or interest in these final 8 games.
And I know you get asked a lot about players who will be out of contract at the end of the season. Would these last 8 games or so be almost a trial for some of them to earn a contract for next season?
I would hope not. I think that, football clubs should make decisions on players over a body of work and a period of time. I think it's a big mistake to leave a decision on whether a player's had a good game or a bad game in the last 2 or 3 games of the season. I remember many, many years ago being advised against that. Make your decisions about players, halfway or 2/3 into the season. Don't leave it to the last minute. So I think we know our players. We know what they can do. Unfortunately for the club, there are a number of them that find themselves, or that we find ourselves, having to deal with players who have coming to the end of their contract. So there's a lot of negotiations got to be done between the club and the players and the players' agents. But that's going on at the moment, in this moment in time. And luckily, it certainly hasn't had any effect on us in the last few games.
And I know you get asked it all the time, but obviously you're one of the people at the club at the moment whose contract is coming to an end. And any movement on that side on what's going to happen next for you?
No, I'm in the same situation as the others. Basically, I think we've all got our own ideas about what our plans are, but we're more than happy to wait a little bit longer before announcing those plans.
Chelsea coming up next. They obviously bounced back well from their defeat against West Brom in the Champions League. How do you view, first of all, that recovery and just the start that Thomas Tuchel has made in the Premier League?
Well, I think their result in the Champions League was a very, very good one, a very important one, because it's never easy to play a team like Porto with all the experience that they have, and to win the game by 2-0 and giving yourself such a good platform going into the return leg. I think that's fantastic, and I'm pretty sure that Thomas and everyone at the club must be delighted with that. I regard the West Brom Albion game as one of those one-off games that occur during the course of the season, and I don't expect it for 1 minute to have any major effect on what Chelsea are going to bring to the table tomorrow when they play us. And of course, Thomas has started the job very well. I thought that Frank was actually doing a good job himself, in actual fact, introducing a lot of young players to the club. Thomas has come in, and with his experience, he's built certainly on any foundation that was there. And at the moment, Chelsea are one of those teams that are always going to be vying, if you like, at the very, very top of the table. They've still got a second place to play for. And if they're going to get that second place, they're going to have to beat teams like ourselves on the run in.
Just finally from me, Michy Batshuayi obviously can't play against a parent club. Is that a shame for you? Because he seems fired up by the comments that were made over the last week or so, and he's come back and he responded to your challenge with a goal the other day. Is it disappointing that you've not got him at your disposal?
Yeah, it's always nice to have all your players available, but we've been aware for a long time, of course, from the moment we signed him, that there was 2 matches a year he wouldn't be able to play, and they're the ones against Chelsea. He'll be disappointed himself, because I think he'd have been hoping for another chance to get on the field and score again. But there's lots of games after this one. We've got 7 matches left to play, and if we're going to do well in those 7 matches after this one, we're going to need players available, and players who feel themselves to be in good form, and we're going to need goal scorers. So if Michy can fulfil that role for us, we'll be more than delighted.
And how's he been in the days since, and how the two of you been? You challenged him, he responded. Are things all good on the training ground?
I don't know that I haven't challenged him, really. To be honest, I haven't spoken to him at all in any respect other than conversations we have around football. But he's come back alongside Christian Benteke. They were very happy with the 3 matches that Belgium played and their advancement, or their continual advancement, if you like, in terms of qualifying for the major tournaments. And in training, he's been like he has been all the way through. So I felt no need to talk to him specifically, only to answer the questions, which of course always come about when a player gives an interview to a foreign journalist, and it gets picked up over here, because players sometimes say things to foreign journalists that they hope won't get printed in England, but they need to learn that, unfortunately, every time you open your mouth to a journalist, whether it's here in England or in Belgium, the chances are what you say is going to be quoted.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate your time. Thanks a lot, Roy.
My pleasure.
Thank you. We'll go to Mark Scott for Premier League Productions.
Hi, Roy. Hope you're well.
Well, thank you. Yes.
Good. I know that you said that the Chelsea defeat against West Brom is just one of those games that happens here and there over the course of a season. But was there anything from West Brom's display that you can take from it? Maybe areas of Chelsea's game that you might be able to exploit as they did?
Well, I thought West Brom played exceptionally well that day. I thought they were well worth their victory, and I think that's been accepted by all. I don't think Chelsea have had any qualms about accepting the fact that on the day West Brom were very good and were the better team and deserved to win. It does go to show that we're playing against a team that, however good they are, they're not totally invincible, even though their record in the last 15 or 16 games would suggest that they are pretty invincible because they're not letting any goals in to speak of. So the task doesn't become any easier because West Brom have beaten them, but all it does do, of course, it puts a little doubt perhaps in their mind that we aren't invincible, and if we don't reach our highest levels and the opponents have a good day, we can lose the game. And I suppose that's what gives us some hope that if after especially playing first West Brom and then Porto, it's going to be a little bit maybe harder for them to confront the third game in a week, and if we can produce the performance, maybe we can do as well against them as West Brom did. But it will take a big effort because that was a really good West Brom performance right the way through the team, and luckily they got their reward, and Chelsea had to suffer the ignominy of a defeat that they hadn't bargained for.
I know that you said that you thought Frank was doing a good job and Thomas has already got off to a good start. What do you think the main differences in terms of the style that we're seeing from Chelsea are under Tuchel compared to under Frank?
Yeah, too difficult a question for me to answer. I think I'd have to be someone who spends his life, really studying every Chelsea performance. I think they've got an awful lot of good players. I think that they were organised before Thomas came, and they're certainly organised now. So we're still playing against a very, very organised team. And I think that the confidence that so many good results in a row gives a team is an extra boost. But I certainly don't want to downplay in any way the work that Thomas Tuchel has done, because he's obviously done an extremely good job. At the same time, I feel that I must also mention the fact that Frank Lampard wasn't exactly doing disastrously himself. So when he came into us, I think there was a good platform to build on and an awful lot of good players to work with and maybe get the best out of. And to be fair to Frank, some of those players, they'd only just come into the country, they had just come into the team, and I think it was always going to be the case to some extent that the longer they played together, as long as they're playing for a good coach and someone who knows how to use their abilities, they were always going to get better.
I know that you said they've got plenty of quality players. Just talking about one of them, Mason Mount scored again in the Champions League in the week. What have you made of his development? Because, he's now become one of the players in the Premier League this season.
Absolutely. Well, fantastic. I can't say anything about him that's not already been said. I mean, I'm a big admirer like everybody else. I think he's exceptionally good in his position, and I think he's exceptionally knowledgeable as a player, wise as a player for someone so young. And luckily, he's been given a chance to show what he can do, first at Derby County and now the next 2 seasons here at Chelsea. And he's developed more and more every match, every game, every Champions League game, every England international game, into someone that not only Chelsea can rely upon, but also England, I hope, can rely upon. So it's nice for both of those two, Chelsea, to have such a good player at their disposal.
And just one defeat in the last 6 in the Premier League, that's a pretty good, solid run of form to be on. Is there any particular area that you think has room for improvement, though? I mean, I saw one stat saying that shots on goal has been a bit low. Would that be the only area that perhaps needs to pick up?
It's been low for 4 years, so it's not exactly so. It's just happened over the last few games. But it's been an unusual season, not least of all due to the COVID. And we've had 1 or 2 very strange results during the course of this season, which are totally unlike Crystal Palace and the results we are prone to get. But I think, as far as we're concerned, it's a constant search, if you like, for getting better, for becoming a better team, for making certain the things that we preach to the players and try to work on, that we get a chance to see that working on the field of play. And I think it's an advantage now that we have got ourselves a good distance from the relegation zone, which hopefully will give the players a bit more confidence to really try and take a few more risks, if you like, in their play, not fearing that if it led to a goal which cost us the game, it was going to drag us closer to the relegation zone. So that's my hope, but we'll have to see how that pans out.
Thank you very much, Roy.
Pleasure.
We'll go to George Sessions of PA.
Hi, Roy. I just wanted to check on the injuries. I know Tyreek come back, didn't he, for the Everton game, but James McCarthy and Nathaniel Klein weren't there. How was everyone on the injury front?
Yeah, good. I mean, the only person missing from the ones that have been available to us recently is Michi, because he's not allowed to play in this game. But James McCarthy has certainly returned. Tyreek Mitchell's been back with us now for a couple of weeks and is fully fit and available to play. So the ones that we don't have are the two centre-backs who've been out now for a long period of time. That's James Tompkins and Mamadou Sakho. James MacArthur is still out, unfortunately. And then we've got the moment Connor Wickham, who's just recovering from a very slight knock, but he'll be back again soon as well. And Nathan Ferguson. So some of the players we're missing, they've been missing for a number of weeks, even months. So it's really just Connor, who's been with us recently, and Nathaniel Klein is the other one. But he's going to be joining in with us again next week, I think. So even he's making good progress. But for the game tomorrow, certainly James McCarthy will be back. And Tyreek, we mentioned, he was there for the last couple of games, and he will be with us tomorrow too.
And just in terms of Thomas Tuchel, have you ever come across him? I know, obviously, you seem like you've managed everywhere in Europe. I wondered if you'd ever come across him in a friendly. I know he's been in football for the last sort of 11 to 12 years, hasn't he?
I met him once and spent some time with him at a meeting that was held, a leaders' meeting that was held. It was a private occasion, basically, organised by a very important leaders group. And he was. I've been with that group for a period of time now, and Thomas came and joined us. I think it was a couple of years ago, just before he joined Paris Saint-Germain, and had a chance to meet him then and speak to him then and listen as well to the philosophy, because he was telling us all about how he'd worked at Dortmund and the things that he thought were the most important, and I found that very interesting. So I should look forward to meeting him again tomorrow, but I can't claim to know him, because that was the one occasion where we've had a chance to spend some time and talk to each other.
Yeah, sure. I mean, someone you obviously do know well is Frank, isn't it? I wondered, have you spoke to him at all since he left Chelsea? I know you sort of when he did leave Chelsea, you sort of passed on your sort of your feelings towards him and backed him to come back. But I wondered if you actually spoke to him personally since. I
did speak to him. I spoke to him on at the time. I haven't spoken to him, unfortunately, since that time. But we've each got our own lives to lead, I suppose, and I'm pretty certain Frank is busy whatever he's doing. But yes, I spoke to him at the time when he lost his job. But after that, I'm afraid I haven't. But I'm expecting him any day soon to pitch up again and get a new job, and that's when I'll call him again and congratulate him on it.
And just finally from me, I'm sure you probably saw the news an hour or so just before this press conference with the Prince Philip that the Duke of Edinburgh passed away. I just wanted to give you this opportunity to sort of pass on your condolences, like many other managers and sports figures are doing.
Yes, of course, I'll pass on my condolences. It's a sad day in particular for the royal family and for the country. And I can only, wish the royal family everything, I suppose, that one can wish for them during this difficult period of time, especially with Prince Philip dying so close to his 100th birthday. It's a really sad occasion.
Okay, thanks very much for that, George. That concludes the broadcast.